Instead of having like a therapist and a participant or a parent and a child, two parts of a relationship, there's three because there's the therapist, the participant, and the music. There's a triangle. And what I think is so beautiful about that is that for some people, that face-to-face interaction is too much. So when we both pivot towards the music, then we can share this wonderful experience that is very connective, but it just takes the pressure off that face-to-face connection. That also holds true for the parent and the child in the music. If you have a child that is not comfortable with that eye-to-eye, face-to-face mirroring beautiful connection, you need a different way. And so when a parent can pivot to the music and let the child pivot to the music, and now the attention is on a third thing and the connection still happens, I think that is the beauty of what makes music therapy magic.
Welcome to Cue the Magic, Sing a New Song, a podcast that explores how music therapy can break barriers, spark connections, and change your child's life. I am your host, Angie Kopshy, a music therapy expert and the founder of the Global Music Therapy Project, a nonprofit organization dedicated to utilizing music's therapeutic power to enhance the lives of kids and parents just like you on a global level. I always say that music therapy is this miraculous thing that's not miraculous at all. It's science, and you'll be blown away by how simple it is. I am here to help you learn the techniques you need to create a happier, healthier household. Let's tune in together and cue the magic. Hi, I'm Angie Kopshy, and it's time for another Try This Tip, where we share simple music-filled strategies to bring a little more harmony into your daily routine. Today's tip is all about helping your child build social skills through collaborative music, and even more importantly, using music to connect. If you've got a kiddo at home, you know their energy can go from 0 to full-blown marching band in 5 seconds flat. So instead of trying to quiet the chaos, let's channel it. Set aside a few minutes for a musical back and forth. Grab a couple of instruments or make your own with pots and spoons and empty containers and take turns. You play a short rhythm, then they echo it, and then let them take the lead. This is part of the magic. When you let your child be the one to guide you, it gives them a sense of power, importance, and creativity. You're saying, I trust you. I'm listening. And that feeling, it sticks. It builds confidence, encourages decision-making, and deepens your bond. Then take it a step further by offering simple choices. Do you want to play loud or soft, fast or slow? Which instrument feels right for you today? These options help your child feel even more in control of their experience while you're right there following, supporting, and connecting through the beat. This kind of playful, shared music isn't about getting it right. It's about being in the moment together. It helps your child practice patience, listening, and turn-taking, all wrapped in joy. So next time you need a reset or just a little heart-to-heart time, grab something to tap and let the rhythm lead the way. Give it a try, and as always, let us know how it goes. Welcome to Cue the Magic, Sing a New Song. I'm your host, Angie Kopshy, and today I am so excited to interview music therapist Emily Ross. Thank you for being here, Emily.
Thank you.
Can you start by telling us a little bit about how you got into music therapy?
Sure. I actually started out as a music educator. I was a music education major in college, and I taught general music and band for 7 years and decided it wasn't a good fit and took some time off from being a professional and became a nanny for a child with autism. And I got really interested in why he was the way he was. And I also learned that music was an amazing way to connect with him. And that led me to music therapy. And I got my graduate degree in music therapy back in 2003, and I've been practicing ever since.
So I'm curious, had you heard of music therapy before you were nannying this kiddo?
I had not. While I was working with this kiddo, this was in Corvallis, Oregon, the parents reached out to a music therapist who had to come down from Salem because there were no music therapists in Corvallis. And I got to watch her work. I had never heard of music therapy. And here I was, a music teacher, thinking I knew how to reach somebody using music. She was able to capture his attention for 30 minutes, and it blew me away. So then I started looking into how do I become a music therapist, and found out that at that time there were 6 music therapists in the state.
Wow.
Now there's something like 80 of us, I think.
Yeah.
So
such similar stories.
Yeah.
about like never hearing of music therapy. Like I got my master's in piano and had thought I was so brilliant. Like, oh, I'm going to figure out how to combine psychology and music. And then someone was like, that already exists.
There's already a thing.
That's cool. So what makes music therapy such a unique tool?
I was really thinking about this. To me, what is so unique about it is that instead of having like a therapist and a participant or a parent and a child, two parts of a relationship, there's three because there's the therapist, the participant, and the music. There's a triangle. And what I think is so beautiful about that is that for some people, that face-to-face interaction is too much. And so when we both pivot towards the music, then we can share this wonderful experience that is very connective, but it just takes the pressure off that face-to-face connection. And so even though, I talk about it from my perspective as a professional, saying therapist, participant, music, that's the triangle. But as I was thinking about your question, I was thinking that also holds true for the parent and the child in the music. Because if you have a child that is resistant to that intense face-to-face, some babies are, right, you hold them and they just beam at you, right? There's that connection that comes very quickly. And then there's other children where that is not comfortable. And we have to find a different way to do it. So if you have a child that is not comfortable with that just eye to eye, face to face mirroring, beautiful connection, you need a different way. And so when a parent can pivot to the music the way, and let the child pivot to the music, and now the attention is on a third thing and the connection still happens. I think that is the beauty of what makes music therapy magical.
Do you have any go-to songs using rhythm that you use for your kiddos?
The one that I've been using most recently is not my own personal. I didn't write the song. It's called Morningtown, and it's by Malvina Reynolds. But if you've heard it, you probably heard it because Peter, Paul, and Mary recorded it. And I love it because it's about trains, which a lot of my kids love trains, but it's also a lullaby. And I chose it because I was looking for something that was lower energy than I used to do a lot of paddle drum crossing midline, and that actually amps up a lot of my folks. And it's loud and it's exciting and there's backbeats and some of my kids don't need to be revved up. Or when I want to be doing rhythm, that's not what's called for. So my idea with this is that instead of using paddle drums, I have hand drums on the floor, which is much quieter on the carpet. Or if they're in chairs, I'm using 2 standing drums. And so I have 2 drums and each of us have 1 mallet and we're just mirroring each other and we're going across and back. And then I just sing the song to the tempo that the child chooses. And occasionally I have a child who wants to change mallets and move it. And then I'm like, oh, then I know that crossing midline is really a challenge. And we'll just move them closer together. Or I move them further and further apart when I have children who want to go fast. And I'm trying to get the beat of the song to slow down. They can move quickly, but I want the song to be a little bit slower so that it would go something like this. Train whistle blowing makes a sleepy noise. Underneath the blankets go all the girls and boys. And that's just the first half of it. And it goes on. And there's multiple verses, but I only use the first verse. So we do that song and then we do it with the other hand. And sometimes we go back and we do it multiple times. And if they're going faster than I want them to, then I just scoot the drums a little further apart. And with some of my kiddos, I've actually added a subdivision. I'll put a drum in the middle. So it's do, 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 do. And I've even done that with 3 subdivisions. Do, 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 do. Because I have this one child who just loves to do everything fast. He loves the song, but he wants to have something to focus on. And so I give it to him.
Brilliant. So, and you have your own set of drums, like you are mirroring, you have the same setup as they do?
We are sharing drums.
Okay.
So there's 2 drums and we're each hitting the same drum at the same time. I'm in a mirror of what they're doing.
So, and what is the impact typically of that?
That the action of rocking back and forth to a lullaby song tends to bring a person's energy into a more centered place. It's a lovely thing to do right before I'm going to do like work at the piano where I'm actually teaching a skill, or work with a book where I'm asking somebody to be focused. Now, I don't start with that. I do big body, like playing with a scrunchy band and jumping up and down if that's what a child needs. Then the next step is Morningtown, and then we do the focus work. So we have to move towards it. We can't just start there.
Yeah. And then I'm just curious, like after the focus work, what do you do?
Whatever the child's choice is, usually.
That's good. I am wondering if you have a case study that you could share with us. You don't need to get too specific, but yeah, a case study.
Sure. So I have a kiddo that is now 7. And when the dad first contacted me, the child was almost 3. And I affectionately referred to this kiddo for years as the kitten, because he just did his own thing and did not respond to verbal prompting from his parents, from me, from anybody. He came into the room and he was just doing his thing. And so, you talk about like herding cats is hard, right? And so he was just someone who did not want to be herded. He wanted to do his thing. And so, and his dad was like, I want him to learn emotional regulation. I'm like, okay, that's going to take some time. And he's little, and he had no, communication at that point. He wasn't responding to receptive language, and he didn't have any expressive language. And he's doing great right now. So just to skip to the end, he's doing much, much better. He still has some impulse control challenges, but what we did at the beginning, so dad's idea was I will hold him and we will do music and I will contain him. And we did that maybe one day as I'm getting to know his tastes in music and stuff. And then I was like, I can't teach him regulation when you are regulating for him. We need him to have the experience of coming to the music. So I made a picture schedule for him that showed free time in the music space, and then cushion time, and then free time, and then cushion time, and free time and cushion. Actually, I think it was just the 3. Free time, cushion time, free time to start. And then we added. So cushion time had a song. So I would give him free time, and I believe very strongly in setting up my room as much as possible into what I call a yes environment, so that it's safe for the child to touch anything that's in there. At the time that he was little, I didn't have the same room that I have now, and it was harder to do. It was too big of a space for him. But I did the best I could. I removed anything that I didn't want him to touch, and I left everything that I wanted him to have freedom to explore. I had instruments out. The piano was available. There were soft, stuffy things. There was a chair to sit on if you wanted to snuggle into the chair under a blanket. I just tried to set up as many things as I could. And and then I sat at the piano and played while he came in and just did whatever he wanted. And Dad was like, and I'm like, Dad, if you could just, be over there in the corner and let this happen, that would be fantastic. And he did. And anyway, so I would sort of watch the child to see, like, when does he seem to be getting a little bit sated? And then I would start my cushion song. And so then I would sing, now, then again, this is a borrowed tune. This is not I did not compose the melody, but I borrowed a melody from a song called Today. And it went, now it is time to sit down on the cushion. Now it is time to sit down and have fun. Daniel, when you are ready to sit, we will have some fun. And Daniel's not his real name. I just used that as a fill-in. And he loved the song. It took a long time for that to translate to prompting him to sit, but it did eventually get to be, he would sing it to me. He would, like, when he was ready to sit down, he would start singing the song, which was adorable. And even today, like, I just saw him yesterday, and when I verbally say, sit on the cushion, please, he responds to that more easily than anything else that I ask him to do. That has really clicked for him. So, I was saying to Dad, when it's really a preferred thing, he still doesn't respond to my requests. But some of these things where he knows that it's going to be fun if he sits down, like, he's really responsive. And now he's very verbal and he's so bright. So I just love working with him. But I really feel like taking that approach of giving him the freedom to do the exploring, which he clearly needed to do before asking him to do something different, was key to helping him succeed.
Yeah.
It took a long time.
Wow. So ultimately you took the music away with your request to sit on the cushion.
Eventually, yes.
Like these days.
That's true. He doesn't need the song now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Can we talk a little bit about parents and the experience being in a space? Emily and I used to work together. We shared a space, and I feel like we can't speak on behalf of every music therapist, but ideally we believe, the room is set up in a way that is safe for experimentation and exploration.
Yeah.
You can't really hit a drum too hard. Oh, unless you're hurting yourself.
Right.
I feel like a thing I say a lot is, are they hurting themselves or anyone else? And if the answer is no, then we're going to go for it.
Absolutely.
And it's hard sometimes for parents. I feel like they're concerned about all our equipment, and then also, just trying to respect our space. But do you feel like you feel the same way? Like when that kiddo comes in, it's sort of like, parents, sit back.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it, take it in, and let them do their thing.
Yes. And I also think sometimes parents want their child to show that respectful behavior, that sometimes parents feel it's a reflection of them if the child isn't acting in what they think is respectful. But I want to remind them that this is a therapy space. It's not school. It's not a concert. It's a play space, and it's a be yourself space, and it's a grow space. So I'm in agreement with you. I want children to feel free to touch and be loud and move around. If a child climbs into my lap, I'm okay with that, as long as the parent is okay with that. I want the parents to be present if they want to be there to learn about the dynamic of what we're doing. But I also recognize that sometimes parents really need a little time to just be in their own space. And in my new music therapy space that I have now, I actually have a waiting room, and we can close the door. Most of my parents wait in the waiting room now, but it was a transition because my old space didn't have a waiting room.
Yeah.
So I was like, are you okay with us closing the door? And of course the sound carries, so the parents know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Even hearing you speak about this, I have so much compassion for parents and the different settings that they're in with their kiddos, because I do feel like, I'm making assumptions here, but they probably feel like their child needs to be behaved. There are probably a lot of experiences where they need to be concerned about these things. And it's like, hearing you speak about it just makes me think I need to just be like, all right, let's sit down and talk about this for just a minute and give them permission to really relax. Are there specific skills that you use for improving motor skills or physical rehabilitation in children?
There are a few. And it's interesting because autism is my favorite population to work with, generally the goals that the parents are asking for are communication and socialization. And I'm ready for that. And that's usually where we start. And sometimes I'll follow up after like a year or sometimes, and I'll say, we're doing really well. Socialization is there and the communication has really improved. Are those still your priorities? And sometimes the parents will say, actually, fine motor skills are really a concern, or gross motor skills are not there. And I'm like, really? Because I hadn't even thought to look at gross motor because I was so focused on communication. So I'm having to rethink with some of these kids, including my kitten. Turns out that there's some gross motor delay that I wasn't really tuning into because I was concerned about communication for a long time. So I have been devising some child-led gross motor and fine motor, grasping, releasing, that sort of skill. I've been using a lot of beanbags lately. And instead of coming in with, here is my new intervention and we're going to do it, I've been like, what could we do with these beanbags? And see what the child comes up with. And so I don't actually have a really good story to tell because every child is slightly different and every child is doing it different week to week. So I don't have like a go-to, like, here's this cool thing I've come up with yet, but we're creating in the moment. And that to me is something that I'm valuing more and more, of following the child's lead in child-led play and not it being teacher-led play or therapist-led play.
Well, can you talk to us about improvisation and how that comes into play with your music therapy approach?
Yes. So one of the things I love to do is to follow the child's lead. And so if I am following a child's lead, say, we are making up a game with beanbags, and I know that I would love to have this child practice grabbing and tossing. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, this would make a really cool song if we were to get a nice beat going. But I don't want to dictate that too much. So I'm going to just back off and say, what could we do with these beanbags? And the child comes up with some game about tossing the beanbags across the room. And I think, how can we make this safe? So I set up some upside down hand drums on the other side of the room to see if we can aim for the hand drums. And is there a song that could encapsulate this? Sometimes there is. Sometimes the song feels forced and I don't push it. Sometimes the song just comes naturally because it makes sense to sing about what we're doing and it sets sort of a rhythm to what we're doing. Not with every child, though.
Mm-hmm. I feel the same way. And I use eggs a lot that are being thrown into drums. And yeah, sometimes there's a song. I usually am sing-songy and very excited and, using words. But yeah, not necessarily a song.
Yeah.
But a couple favorite things that Emily says. Well, what can we do? What can we do with this? And then also, what did you notice? Maybe not so much with this population.
True. They have a harder time with the reflection piece, at least verbally. I think they do notice a lot, but I don't know that they can respond to that question so well.
Yeah.
I have a young man that I work with who has autism. He's also struggling with OCD. And so transitions getting into the room takes some time. And then once we're in the room, he loves to play the piano, but moving from the green chair to the piano takes some time. And then moving from the piano back to the green chair takes some time. And this could be anywhere from 30 seconds to like 8 minutes of transition time. So I have been experimenting with different ways to encourage the transition without pushing it. And so I will sit at the piano and improvise a song about, I'm going to call him Michael. That's not his real name, but I'll sit at the piano and play a song about, Michael. It's Michael's turn to play the piano. And then I'll just come to the end of it and hold on a 5 chord and just be like, time to play the, and with the hopes that he would come over and say piano or come over and play the piano. It's still a work in progress because OCD is a really hard thing to overcome and it's a real difficulty for him. So it hasn't been a magic tool, but I also feel like the other thing that I am accomplishing is I am giving him time. So I'm at the piano. He's hearing music. He knows that it's his turn. He's familiar with the song now because we've been doing this for weeks and he's invited to come. Mm-hmm. So that's another place where I use improvisation because he vocalizes a lot. And so I will change my song to adjust to his vocalizations. And I'll just be like, I realize that he's on the other part of the room and I'm at the piano and he's invited to come to the piano. But in the meantime, let's just sing together because he's vocalizing and I can support that.
Yes. And he is still taking it in wherever he is in that room. And I feel like, along with your last success story where some of these things, they take time. But ultimately, you're establishing this routine and this trust and giving him this sense that he can take his time and it's okay. But maybe that time gets shorter.
Right. And I want parents to hear that these are not magic fixes, that they do take time and routine. It takes time for us to establish a routine and for our kiddos to respond to that. And we can't expect it to happen just super fast.
Yes. Yeah. In my last interview with Marie Miller, 8 to 10 weeks. So I should give it at least 8 to 10 weeks.
I like that.
But it's hard. You do. And there are times when we have amazing, magical experiences from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And other things take a little time.
Yeah.
What are some things that parents can do to create a music-rich environment at home?
I love this question because I really thought about it. One is scary thing to say, but turn off screens for at least part of the day and let just auditory music be on. And I was thinking about how everybody has such individual taste when it comes to music, and that children do not necessarily have the same tastes in music as their parents. It's one of the beautiful personality things that we each express. And so, but that doesn't mean that we should be only listening to the child's music in the house. I think that it's really good for kids to hear what the parents want to hear. And so even though, and when I say this, I'm thinking about some of our older kiddos. Even though it's really easy now for people to listen to their own music with their headphones on, I think it's actually really healthy for the family to sometimes not isolate with our music, but to have a speaker play music for everybody in the room. And then you can talk about, like, what was it that you really loved about that song? And that I know that when I was growing up, my safe space in our house was my dad's office, where he worked. He was a professor, so he was gone a lot, but when he was home, he was doing his math in his little office, and he always had classical music on. And so to me, that was a little oasis in our house. That there was a lot of chaos in our house, but my dad's office was this oasis. And I love that. I love that that was so meaningful to me. And I do project that out into the world, thinking that probably there are other people who would love to have a place in the house where some calming instrumental music could be on, where if someone wanted to do something that was focused, whether it's like building something out of Legos, or whether it's reading or doing a puzzle, that could be done with some nice background music that would just help make a space feel contained. So I encourage that. And then the other thing is that sometimes parents will ask me, like, what instruments should I have in the house? And I would say, don't go overboard. It doesn't need to be a lot. One nice quality instrument would be lovely, whether it's a xylophone that is an actual instrument and not a toy. There are really cute toys out there, but some of them don't sound great. And if you want to, especially if someone, I don't know if your audience is mostly parents of autistic kiddos, autistic kiddos have really sensitive hearing. And so if an instrument doesn't sound good, they might just never play it. So be picky about the quality of your instrument, but it doesn't have to be a whole array of instruments. It can be just one, and they will find different ways to use it.
I love that you mentioned that because the quality of an instrument, I agree, makes a huge difference. And even for people giving gifts to families, to just keep that in mind, like what will this experience be like for the kiddo? Really good point.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, please.
I would also encourage away from toys that have electronic sounds and songs programmed into them. I think that it is really nice for children to not be inundated by that. It's just a little thought of mine.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk to music therapy being integrated into other types of therapy?
Yes.
Or the school system?
Or the school system. Yes. I love talking with other specialists that work with the kiddos that I work with. And I'm also always deeply honored when someone invites me to an IEP meeting, and I make them whenever I can. Sometimes those are over Zoom, and then they really are easy for me to attend. And that's how I've been able to participate most recently. I haven't attended an IEP meeting in person since before the pandemic, but sometimes they're, anyway, I would say, parents can do so much to help this happen, because I, as a music therapist, am not allowed to reach out to an occupational therapist and talk about your kiddo unless you give us permission. And so, especially if that's something that you want us to do, parents, if you let us know that we want that you would like us to talk, all we need is your permission. And then it is so beneficial for me when I get on the phone with an occupational therapist and talk about a kiddo that we both know, or a speech therapist. I feel like it opens the doors on both sides, where we're like, oh, I hadn't even thought about angling towards that. And we can get on. If a child is on an IEP and seeing various specialists, they are getting a lot of help from a lot of different sides. And it is crucial that they get help from a lot of different sides, because we all see the child slightly differently and we have different perspectives. But if we are coordinated, we are going to help that child feel supported rather than pulled in different directions. Imagine how any of us would feel if we were getting tutoring or therapy, and one person is telling us to lean one way and the other person is telling us to lean the other way, and how torn we would feel. But if both of those voices are telling us something that complement each other, how much more powerful that would be. And probably OTs and SLPs and music therapists are pretty closely aligned, but we could always do it better if we're in communication with each other.
Yes. Yes to all of that. Do you feel like, is there a way for families to help make that happen? So someone comes to you with a kiddo and they have a big team and potentially school also.
So one thing they could say is, if there is going to be a meeting, just to invite all of the players, they could, on my intake form, it says what different treatments is the child receiving right now. So if I know that they're getting speech, then I might check in and say, how are things going with speech? Is it possible for me to talk to your speech therapist? It's great on so many levels. It makes me feel heard to talk to another professional about the same kiddo and go, oh, they're seeing this also. This is affirming to what I'm seeing. And then also those moments of, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. Or, oh, I used to try that with that child and I had stopped because of blah, blah, blah. And now you're reminding me that that's a really good thing to incorporate. So I've had some really rich conversations with specialists, and I love going to IEP meetings. It makes me feel, really well connected to what's most important to the child.
I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about how your individual sessions are shaped and how they end. So even like the session is 25 minutes and then I have 5 minutes of check-in with parents or something to that effect.
Most of my sessions are 45 minutes. With my littlest ones, I will do a 30-minute session, but I'm finding that 30 minutes feels really short. And so I generally go 45 minutes. And then I always have 15 minutes between sessions. So if I need to chat with parents, then I have a little bit of cushion time to do that. And then hopefully I have time to write my own notes and get reset, pull out more instruments, disinfect spaces if it needs that, to get ready for the next person. My sessions with most of my folks start with a hello song. I have a hello song for my littles, and then I have a hello song for my not so littles. And if someone doesn't like hello songs and we don't do hello songs, I have one person who we start with Skip to My Lou every week. All like 13 verses or something. Yeah, but we sing it really fast. And I like to use a small whiteboard and make a plan with most of my kiddos. So and they are used to that. And it's comforting for some of my folks really appreciate knowing, like, here's the plan and this is how it's going to look. And then they just know what to expect. So we will go through and I'll write down the hello song and then number 2. And I will just say, and what do you want for number 2? Because I really love to see what the person's going to say. And if a person is not able to answer that, then I might give them a choice of 2 things. And if a person is nonverbal, I might give them a picture version of 2 choices. But I do like to start with an open-ended question because sometimes people really surprise me. Someone who's never asked for the piano and suddenly that's what they choose for number 2. And I'm like, okay, number 2 is piano. I'm so excited to see what that's going to look like. And then I always have ideas of how I want. And the exception to this is my kiddos who need all that gross motor work. I might design more of the beginning of the session and say, we're going to start with some sort of sensory integration experience. And so then I might give them a choice. Do you want this sensory integration experience or this sensory? And so I'm crafting the arc of the session a little bit more, but I'm giving them choices within that. So I tend to start with gross motor and move into smaller and make sure that there's some client preferred options sprinkled throughout. Sometimes it's mostly client preferred, depending on what their goals are. And sometimes it has a lot more to do with what I'm seeing as the need, but then some choices. Finish up with a goodbye song. And that's generally the arc of my session.
So you usually use a whiteboard. When you were talking about the kitten,
yes,
your little kitten, and the visual schedule that you created, is that also with a whiteboard?
It started out with a laminated white paper with some color pictures of my actual studio. So that a wide picture of my studio represented free play, and then a picture of the cushion represented the cushion time. And then gradually we graduated to a board that had Velcro, and then we would have little mini pictures of actual items in my studio. So a picture of a book, a picture of shakers, a picture of a drum, a picture of guitar, all these different items. And we would put them on the whiteboard or on the schedule with Velcro. And he was so excitable in my old studio that we would do that before I would actually meet them in the hallway with the door locked. And we would stand in the hallway and I would show him the schedule. And then I would open the door and he would go and take off his shoes, and then we would start. Because once he was in the room, he wanted to touch and I couldn't get him to focus on the schedule. So with my folks who are pre-reading, we use picture schedules, and the Velcro pictures are really fun. And then I move them gradually towards a board that has Hello Song written. It's in permanent because it's on a laminated sheet. And then below that are some Velcro slots, and then Goodbye Song is written so that they're starting to get used to having some writing. And then eventually we switch to a written whiteboard. And even my kiddos that don't read fluently, they can read Hello Song. They can read their preferred items. They know xylophone, even though it's a long word, they know xylophone.
I love that. I love the structure that you have where you have the Hello Song and the Goodbye Song, and you get to plug and play in the middle. That's great. What is the most rewarding part of your job as a music therapist?
What has blown me away recently is having parents tell me that I am the one person who really sees their child. And it kind of breaks my heart because I feel like, why isn't everyone seeing this child? But that is extremely gratifying to me to hear that the parent sees the work that I'm doing. The parent sees that the therapeutic relationship is really strong. The other really rewarding thing is when a child has an aha moment where something happens that has never happened before, or a child uses language when they've not used language in that way before. When functional communication happens in the music therapy room, that is extremely rewarding to me, and it absolutely touches me deeply.
I'm wondering, this is sort of off the cuff, but so if it feels like you don't have a good answer, but do you have any theories as to why you are able to create these amazing connections, this therapeutic relationship?
I don't really know. I was thinking about, I don't know that it is the music per se. I think music is our vehicle. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you're really gifted. I've seen you work a lot, and you are so compassionate, and you leave so much space for exploration, for time. I feel like your expectation, I mean, you have expectant, excited, patient, waiting face on, which is perfect. Nice. But you're I just feel like you leave so much space.
Right.
I love those, all your answers.
I actually thought of an answer for you. That's a little bit of an answer.
Right.
That my master's degree was at a Buddhist inspired university. And that actually was a very meaningful experience for me to be in a program where we were expected to take 4 semesters of meditation. Now, I have still not become a regular meditator, but I have learned a lot about being present. And I feel like I am very committed to being in the present moment with my kiddos when I'm working with them. And I would like to say that all therapists do that, but I can really only speak for myself. And I see that parents value it. So
what does a semester of meditation look
like? Well, the class time is coming into a group setting where there is meditation, and then there is a talk about meditative practice. And then there's also time when you have to go and talk individually with your meditation teacher about how your private meditation practice is going. And that's where the juice is, because what I learned, and it took me 4 semesters to get this, was I would come in every time and bang my head against the wall, apologizing about the fact that I'm not meditating. And she would be like, well, let's be curious about that. And so it really wasn't about how much I was meditating. It was how I approached my own relationship to meditating. And so it was like that stepping back and having a meta relationship with it. That was the learning piece. That was what it was all about.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It's great.
So I grapple with meditating now, but at the time, this was 20 years ago, I could not make myself sit. I would sit and then my brain would be everywhere and I would be like, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Do you have any final words of advice for parents who are just starting to explore music therapy as a tool for their child's development?
I guess I do. Okay, one particular. My one piece of advice as you're starting out working with music therapists is don't be afraid to ask questions. If you don't understand why a music therapist is doing what they do, it's because what we do is really subtle and we are really skilled at making things fun. And so from the outside, it might look like we're just playing. And if you're frustrated, like, I don't know why they're just playing, then ask, because there is a reason why your music therapist is doing what they're doing. And it's absolutely fine to ask them why. So just ask questions. Ask, what is it that you're working on right there? Or why did you prompt in this way? Absolutely fine to ask. Also, there are a lot of different types of music therapists out there. Some of us specialize in kiddos and some specialize in adults and some specialize in mental health and some specialize in more of a physical approach. And so, finding a good fit for your family member is key.
Yes. I love those answers. Okay. If a parent is curious about something that's happening, when is the right time to ask that question?
Love that question. Hopefully not in the middle of the session. Music therapists, even though it looks like we're playing, we're really, really paying attention to nuance. And we're not really, at least I will speak for myself. I am not able to have a conversation with a parent in the middle of a music therapy session. And it would be upsetting to my way of relating to the child to try and do that. I would much prefer to have a conversation after a session. I also most of the time prefer to not have a conversation about a child in front of a child. And so if it's a safe thing to do and there's time, it's lovely to give the child something to do and then have a conversation right after the session. Sometimes that's not safe. Sometimes the child needs more monitoring than that. I'm thinking about, like, in my studio, sometimes a child can choose a book off of my bookcase and they can just hang out with the book and the parents will talk. Sometimes it needs to be a phone call later when the child is not in the room, because I really want to be respectful that we're not talking about the kiddo in front of the kiddo. If it's a chance for the kiddo to be part of the conversation, then that's great.
Yes. Yes. Agreed. Thank you for being here. Can you tell us where we can find you and about your practice?
Sure. I have a practice in Southwest Portland, and my company is called Hoof and Horn Music Therapy, which is spelled HOOFNHORN, Hoof and Horn. I have a website, hnhmusictherapy.com, and I am not really on social media. So if you want to find me, look me up on my website, and you're welcome to email me through my website, and I'd be happy to talk with you.
Great. Do you have any events or projects coming up?
I am actually presenting for the Oregon Music Teachers Association in June at their state conference.
That's awesome.
So I'm talking about the overlap between therapy and teaching.
Hey everyone, we have big news. The Global Music Therapy Project has finally been approved to host the ultimate PDX bingo game show. Think bingo meets game show madness with a late night twist. Win cash, score amazing prizes, and support a great cause. The proceeds go towards expanding the reach of the Global Music Therapy Project and making a real difference in the lives of children and families around the world, all while having a great time. Join our mailing list at pdxbingo.com to be the first to know when tickets drop. We can't wait to see you there. Thank you for joining our conversation with Emily Ross. Her work in music therapy is a beautiful reminder of how music can be a tool for communication, understanding, and connection. If the show resonated with you, we'd be so grateful if you followed the show and left a review. And before we wrap up today's episode, I want to share a song from our album, Songs for Kids on the Autism Spectrum. And this collection was created to support daily routines, encourage communication, and foster joyful moments of connection between kids and their caregivers through music. The song we're featuring today is called I Have Lots of Feelings. It provides fun and engaging ways to help kids identify, understand, and sing about how they feel. With simple, repetitive lyrics and a catchy melody, this song gives children the space to explore emotions in a playful way. And here's a way you can expand upon this song and make it your own. You can change the lyrics to match any emotions or feelings your child experiences. Happy, sad, mad, silly, tired, hungry, nervous. Make up a verse and go with it. This song is all about creativity and connection, so don't be afraid to add your own spin. Try matching the feeling with a facial expression and get silly with big smiles for joy or dramatic frowns for sadness. And the more you mirror the emotion, the more fun and meaningful it becomes. So sing along, get creative, and use this song to celebrate emotions, both big and small. It's a great way to connect with your child and help them express how they're feeling in a safe, joyful way. We'll see you next week on another episode of Cue the Magic, Sing a New Song. Here's I Have Lots of Feelings.
I have lots of feelings. Feelings always change. No matter what I'm feeling, I'm always okay. You make your mad face. Your mad face. You make your mad face. Feelings always change. You make your happy face. Your happy face. You make your happy face. Feelings always change. I have lots of feelings. Feelings always change. No matter what I'm feeling, I'm always okay. You make your sad face. Your sad face. You make your sad face. Feelings always change. You make your excited face. Yay! Your excited face. Yay! Make your excited face. Yay! Feelings always change. I have lots of feelings. Feelings always change. No matter what I'm feeling, I'm always okay. You make your worried face. Your worried face. You make your worried face. Feelings always change. You make your silly face. Your silly